Hello everyone. Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon. I'm your host, Francesca, and welcome to a brand new episode of the Veramed Stories podcast. With it being October, we're going to focus on something different for this episode. And no, it's not Halloween, although that would be fun, but we're going to talk about Black History Month. And joining me on this episode today is Claudwynne, and she is a senior statistician at Veramed and also an advocate for Black History Month. So welcome, Claudwynne. Thank you so much for joining me today. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you, Francesca, for just inviting me on and for an opportunity to talk about Black History Month.
No, you are more than welcome. So let's get into this episode. Claudwynne actually did reach out to me a few weeks ago to ask if we were going to cover this very important topic, and I will admit that it hadn't crossed my mind. So I am extremely grateful to Claudwynne for proposing this episode and just enlightening us all as to why this is very important. So yeah, I think that's a really good place to start, is what is Black History Month and why do we celebrate it?
So Black History Month is a period that we celebrate in October. So during this time, we celebrate the contributions to Black people in British history. There's also been times and instances in the past where I would say there's been more of an awareness or emphasis about it. So when the murder of Stephen Lawrence happened in the 90s, or say more recently, George Floyd. I don't know if you heard about the killing of George Floyd in 2020. And that caused people to ask questions and to look deeper into even the oppression of Black people in the UK. Sadly, Black history isn't taught in schools at the moment in the UK. So October usually is really the only time that Black children have an opportunity to be taught about their history and some of the heroes in their community.
Wow, I did not know that. And is Black History Month, is the October just a UK thing, or is that a worldwide month of celebration?
So from my understanding, Black History Month started in the USA. As you would imagine, they have a
Okay.
rich,
Yeah.
rich history in Black history. So it started in the US, and in the 1980s, it came to the UK, and it's kicked off from then, I would say.
No, I think it's really good that we have this, for everyone to, in terms of education as well. I think that's really important that we all understand, the trials and tribulations that Black people have went through, so that, we don't make the same mistakes and we make it as inclusive and open for everyone.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. So in the USA, I believe their Black History Month is February.
Oh, it's
Um,
February.
yeah, so it's a lot different from ours. But I mean, it's quite well known here in the UK that it is October. So if you have Sky, for example, on the Sky movie section, it's like Black History. There's a Black History section there with Black films, and on Netflix as well. So it's very much known that October is the time for Black History celebrations in the UK.
Yeah, I think that's really cool when things like Sky and Netflix, like Amazon Prime and things, that they do have movies and things to celebrate all that you have done.
Yeah,
It's
I
really cool
agree.
that they make it easily accessible as well.
Yeah, for sure, definitely. I mean, when I was growing up, I all I had was BBC. I know you could go on BBC, Bite Size. I don't know if you remember
I
Bite Size.
remember that. I'm sure I used
Yeah,
to do like some of my maths learning from Bite Size.
yeah. So literally all you had was Bite Size, and you went on there and it would just give you a rundown of important dates and stuff. But I would say it's much more widely known now.
Yeah, for sure. So I was having a look at the website that you directed me to, and there was this really cool quote that I don't know, it just really stood out to me. And that was, despite the epidemic of racism and unfairness affecting Black people, we continue to break barriers and use our creativity and our innovation to influence lives today. And I just thought that was just a really powerful sentence. So, what I want to direct to you, Claudwynne, is why is this topic important to you, and what does Black History Month mean to you?
I think that's a really good question, to be honest with you. And for me, it's definitely a time of encouragement and reflection to look back on how far we've come as a race, how far and what we've done. And it's also for me a time to understand that I also carry the responsibility to carry on to the next generation and
Mm-hmm.
inspire them in my own little way, where possible. This year, for example, is very close to my heart. So this year the theme is saluting our sisters. And I read a study that was done by London School of Economics in 2021 that said that actually Black women are the most marginalized sect in the UK.
Wow.
And compared to other women and men, they were the most underrepresented in the top percentile. So there's still much work to be done.
Mm.
That's why it's so important that, each year, regardless of if there's been a big, event that's happened, we continue to expose and talk about Black history and yeah, just put ourselves out there.
Yeah, I think, see, when you hear statistics like that, I just think in this day and age, that just should not be the case.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
really sad.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure there's other, like, economic and social reasons why that is the case. But again, this
Mm.
is why, you know, we have to make more awareness of these things.
Yeah, and this is exactly what this platform is also for, is that,
Mm.
for internally, externally, that we actually talk about these things. Because when you are a company, you're going to have people from all faiths, from all corners of the world, and it's definitely important that we all, I'm not saying we're all going to understand everything, of
Yeah.
course, but it's just important that we are aware of these things and we support each other and we're there for each other. Because I think sometimes it's a lack of support that
Yeah, I agree.
causes issues. And if people don't have, others that they can talk to, that they can confide in, that's when it just becomes, it's all yourself, and you need that support, you need that outlet. And
Yeah.
that's equally as important in the workplace because that's where you spend most of your time, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you just never know who might be feeling the same way you do. You do. So you might feel, I might be the only one that feels I don't fit in, or there's no one that
Mm,
looks like me here. But others might be going through the same thing, So that's why it's very important for us to have this exposure and have conversations like this, so other people know that no, you're not alone, and
yeah.
we all need to support each other and push the cause forward.
Yeah, definitely. And I know we kind of touched on like why Black History Month is important to you, but is there anything in particular that you do on October to celebrate it specifically?
Yeah, so I try to get involved with Black charities as much as possible. I definitely have a lot to improve on in this area because I think at the moment it's more from a financial standpoint.
Mm,
I think definitely I need to work on exposure and visibility, which is, I guess, why we're having this conversation.
yeah,
Because money's good, but also being there and supporting people physically is also equally important.
yeah, definitely. And I do think as well that a lot of I think a lot of issues in workplaces and just society in general is that lack of education. So the more that we speak about things, the more that we raise our voices and talk about things, the better it's going to be for us as a nation to welcome each other and support each other.
Yeah, I could, that's such a good point, Francesca. There's this famous quote that knowledge is power. And I remember when the whole George Floyd thing happened in 2020, prior to this, there was nothing in place in most organizations to
Mm,
tackle racism, systemic racism, or to tackle the struggles of Black people. But now you see there are more DE
hmm
and I leads, sorry, in more organizations, and there's more
Yeah,
awareness. And I suppose Black History Month is a time to remember that, okay, yeah, it's still not over. We still have much
yeah,
work to do. Again, not just because there's an event or something traumatic or devastating has happened means we get to focus on this, but there's still issues happening that we need to
yeah,
fix and work towards.
yeah. Like thinking back to Floyd. the company I worked for at the time, all my team were based in New York, and it was like a dark time, I think, for any business, but especially American based businesses. It was just so shocking, and it was a bit weird for me,
Mm,
like as a white person in the UK, I didn't quite understand what was going on, but I did feel at the time that that shouldn't have happened for us to then have all these policies in place. Like
yeah.
so I do think that is something that is changing, but needs to be changed at the same time.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up actually, and thank you for your honesty about that. But I think that is where, change happens, that recognition that actually I didn't know this was going on, but my
Mm,
conscience tells me that it's not right, and
yeah.
that it's what produces change. But yeah, thank you for being honest about that.
No, I have as much to learn as the next person, and this is why I was really, really grateful that you came to me for this episode because, as I said, like it did not cross my mind. Yeah, I knew October was the month for Black History, but that was as much as I thought about it, and that also that needs to change within myself, like I need to think about these matters a lot more and educate myself. And I think that's why I was really keen for us to get this episode recorded and out for October, so it was out at the right time and that we could reach the right people at the right time as well. And like from loads of things that you've said, it's just about getting that exposure and about talking about things. Because if you don't talk about it, then no one's going to know, right?
Exactly, exactly.
So I think this would be a good time to move on to like your experiences of being a Black person in clinical trials and medical statistics, because you're a senior statistician, right?
Correct, yeah.
Yeah. How long have you been at Veramed for?
So I've actually only I'm quite a newbie here. So I've been at
Oh,
Veramed just close to 5 months. I'm very new here,
oh
but
wow.
I feel very welcomed, very settled in. So yeah, I'm
I
relatively
honestly
new.
thought you'd been here for so much longer than that.
Yeah, only 5 months.
Oh wow, because we're also part of the physical subgroup, right?
Yes, we're part of the
Yeah.
Bayesian team
And the
together.
Bayesian. Yeah. Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
so
So yeah,
that's
we've
good.
got a few things in common in
Yeah,
Bayesian statistics,
and then
physical
we're
well-being.
yes, exactly.
Anyway, sorry, I'm going off on a tangent here. So yeah, I just wanted to ask what your experience is of being in this industry in the clinical trial space as a statistician in a CRO. What has it been like for you?
So I think there's two sides to this question. There's a side of what it's like being Black and working in this environment. And then also as a Black statistician, what type of work I do, because you work in
Mm-hmm.
clinical trials, you work with data, so
Yep.
you get to see a lot. I'll start with the first one.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so in terms of the environment I've worked in, so if I would say I've had a positive experience, and that's not to take away from anyone who's had a negative experience. I've
Yep.
personally had a good experience. I've never felt that I haven't been given any opportunity because of my race. Or I wouldn't
Mm.
know, but I've never felt that way.
Yeah.
Um, but there's always, room for improvement. I've actually never physically met a female statistician. The first time I
Really?
saw, yeah, the first time I saw a Black female statistician was when I had the all staff meeting on my very first day at Veramed, and that was Kendra. She doesn't,
Oh, wow.
she probably
Yeah.
doesn't even know this because we've actually never, I haven't reached out to her yet. A bit nervous, but yeah. So
So
there's
Kendra, if you're listening, please reach out to
please,
Claudwynne.
please do. Please do. But yeah, there's always room for improvement, and I wish there were more, female statisticians. And if you are out there, please, 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 let's get together, let's
Yep.
collaborate, let's have conversations on how we can, push this forward and bring more female statisticians into our field. Um, But then on the other side of things, I've worked on studies that I've seen black male being taken into consideration. I'd like to see more
Mm-hmm.
female black women being taken into consideration in studies. I worked on a specific meta-analysis in my previous company for treatment of prostate cancer. And there was one study in the meta-analysis that had an overrepresentation of black men. And yeah, because I don't know if you're aware of this, but actually black men have the highest incidence of prostate cancer in the world.
I did not know that, no.
Yeah, so it's very prevalent among
Mm,
Black African men. So in the end, that study was excluded from the meta-analysis. I mean, for other reasons as well. You know, the overrepresentation of Black men.
mm,
There was some blinding issues. There was short
okay.
follow-up compared to the others. So there was other things there. But it was good to see that there were clinical trials and studies out there focused on providing
Mm,
treatment for Black patients. So
mhm.
I would say that I've had a mixture. You know, I'd like to see more female representation in studies, but I also see, you know, snippets of progress here and there.
Yeah. No, that's really, really interesting. And as you said, you've been at Veramed for 5 months now. And what is your main role as a statistician? Like, because I'm in the launch space, so I take it are you are you like late development? Are you preclinical?
So
Like, where do you sit?
So at the moment, I work in a team that we just focus on requests. So we get
Okay.
it's very much you get like any type of request. So you
Mm-hmm.
have to be very, you know, quick thinking, able to handle pressure and all of that. But apart from that, I work in the Bayesian team as well. So a
Mm-hmm.
group of statisticians have been put together to work in the Bayesian team, and I think that's an area of interest for me. Um, I'm also quite heavily involved at the moment with the DE and I team, or I want to be more heavily involved with that since I've
Yeah.
joined the company. And, you
That's
know,
our diversity and inclusion, just in case
yeah,
the acronym.
apologies. And I can definitely see Veramed as a company making more improvements, more strides to creating a diverse space. And even
Yeah.
the ideas that the DE and I group has, you know, they're welcomed and
Yeah.
applauded and encouraged. So that speaks volumes.
Yeah, I think we have a training coming out soon, right?
I believe so. Yes.
Yeah, so I'll wait for
That
that
should be available. Yeah.
to get put in my training plan at some point.
Yeah, but even aside from that, there's loads to look forward to coming from the DE and I group, you know, around diversity, and we definitely want to make some waves with this group, I would say.
Yeah. But as you said, like there has been so many ideas, and the fact that the group has been able to work together out with their study hours to create a training that encompasses encompasses lots of different aspects of DE&I, and actually come together and have a training that is going to go out to the wider company. Like that's no mean feat. Like that's really difficult to do.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So I think my last question for you then is going to be, how do you think that you could influence the next generation of Black statisticians?
This is such an important question. I think it's a reflective question as well. Um, I would like to say that this is a massive area of improvement for me. Um,
Mm.
my biggest dream is to go out to schools, especially in Black communities, and talk about what I do.
Wow.
Weirdly enough, not a lot of people know about being a statistician or biostatistician. I don't know if
No.
you, yeah, do you, yeah, I don't know if you've come across that as well. I tell people I'm a statistician. Or
I
what do
mean,
you do?
like, I think when I was growing up, I did not know what a statistician was or that it existed. I'm sure I wanted to be in the police at one point. I wanted to be an
That's
astronaut at some
great.
point, a vet. One week I wanted to be a vet, then it was something else. So yeah, I never like aspired to be a statistician. So yeah, I
Yeah,
think that just in general, statistics is not like a very well-known subject amongst younger
yeah.
people. So yeah, I mean, we do have in Vermeer, we do have like a schools outreach program where
Oh, wow.
I think it's in Twickenham, where people do go out to schools and just educate the younglings on what a statistician is and the cool things that we can do in our job.
That's amazing. That is I think that would be so good. And my personal experience, I guess, of becoming a statistician was in school. I was just always good at maths, but then I
Mm-hmm.
knew I wanted to do maths, but then I didn't know what I would do after. So I have an older sister who is a scientist, and she did loads of internships, and she worked in loads of labs for placements and stuff. And
Mm-hmm.
she came home one day. She's like, "Oh yeah, you could be a statistician." I was like, "What do statisticians do?" And she goes, they're the ones who analyze the results that we have from the lab. I was like, that's quite cool. I'll
Yeah,
do that.
I'll do that.
I'll do that. Yeah. So, yeah, just making sure that I'm going out to communities that I'm from, that look like the communities I'm from, and sharing more about what I do, and telling them that there are actually options for you.
Yeah,
You're not just stuck in finance or
no.
in tech. There's options, and get yourself out there and promote, what you enjoy doing. But yeah, I definitely have a lot of work to do. I need to be good at my job. I need to be great at my job for not just for myself, but for my race. I need to be more
Yep.
visible in the industry so others can see that there are people who look like me within this space.
Mm-hmm.
And again, just making sure that the ones coming up know that there are options.
Yeah, I think it, one of the ways you can probably do that is conferences as well. Like
Yeah,
obviously Veramed promote um us going to conferences, and I think that would be a really good opportunity because like at PSI, we do have a lot of sometimes placement students that are maybe like still in their maybe second year at university and they've like went to
ah,
work at a company for a year. So we do have placement students that have not quite decided on where they want to go with their degree. But we also have like early career
yeah,
statisticians as well that
wow,
are just like new to the biostatistics industry. So yeah, I
yeah,
think going to conferences and I suppose
that's a good idea. Yeah,
LinkedIn as well.
I definitely need to be more visible on LinkedIn, definitely.
LinkedIn, I think's a weird one though, because it's like the Facebook of jobs.
Very true. I couldn't have said it better.
I do feel like LinkedIn's a weird one. It is the social media, um, but I do think there's a lot of very influential people on LinkedIn. There's quite a few
I
people
agree.
that I follow that I really like, more for the motivational quotes. But yeah. So yeah, as you said, I think so what I did want to pick up on was, and I think this is really important, is that you said you have much to improve on. And I think being able to recognize that there's more that you can do, like within yourself, I think that's like the best place to start from is just recognizing that there is more to be done instead of being like, oh, blah, de, blah, everything's fine. Other people will do it for me.
Yeah,
So I think that was
definitely.
like really important. I just wanted to highlight that.
Yeah, no, we all have that responsibility as a Black woman, as I'm sure Black men in the industry, we have
Mhm.
that responsibility that actually whatever we do is not just for ourselves. If we have people who have, set an example and, made waves and impacted the world that we live in, we also have that responsibility to carry that fire to the next generation.
Yep. Yep, absolutely. Well, thank you very much for joining me today, Claudwynne. I have really, really enjoyed this episode. And yeah, I
Me
just want to
too.
thank you again for reaching out to me and getting the ball rolling with this.
No, no, I'm very grateful to you to be, you've been very open-minded and you've been very quick as well in trying to sort out everything. And yeah, thank you for being open to the conversation.
No, no, you are more than welcome. So, yes, thank you all very much for listening. If you would like to be notified for any future episodes, please subscribe to us on Spotify, iTunes, or whichever podcast platform you're using. If you would like to know more about Veramed, please visit our website at veramed.co.uk, or you can find us on LinkedIn. So you'll be able to find myself or Claudwynne, and if you've got anything that you want to discuss, please feel free to reach out to us. We'd be more than happy to talk to you. If you have any questions about Veramed itself, please feel free to reach out to us as well. We are always happy to help. You can also find us on YouTube and Instagram at We Are Veramed. So yeah, thank you all so much for listening, and until next time, see you later.